Among other things, the singer is expected to address the 2016 video of Combs attacking her.
Combs' federal trial. Combs' ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, she is one of Combs' many accusers, testifying as a central witness.
Is she ready?
Very ready and confident. Thank you.
They used to call him a mogul, a kingmaker, the ultimate success story in hip-hop. But all of that shattered yesterday when Cassie Ventura hit the stand and lit up the courtroom with claims so explosive, even the most hardened reporters were left stunned.
In there, Rachel, she had on a brown dress, form-fitting, visibly pregnant, head held high, and did not make any eye contact with the defendant, with Sean Combs. He said that Sean Combs directed everything from what she had on to the lighting in the room to how she was supposed to interact with the person that she was having sex with. And again, just to reiterate, what is a freak?
Diddy's smooth, powerful image cracked in real time as his ex laid out one disturbing allegation after another. The same man who once ran the music world like a boss now sitting there pale-faced and speechless, while Cassie told it all. And we mean all, no filters, no holding back. Diddy didn't just make it in music. He dominated it, built Bad Boy Records from scratch, turned unknowns into mega stars, and created a brand that stretched into fashion. Vodka and media on paper, he was untouchable, the blueprint for turning hip-hop into serious money. But now that polished powerhouse image is getting torn apart. The mastermind, the mentor, the mogul, Cassie's testimony is painting a way darker picture behind all the flash and success. If what's being said in court is even halfway true, it flips the whole story upside down.
Freak off essentially was something that Cassie said she learned about through Sean Combs about a year into their relationship. He described it as voyeurism, wanting to watch her have sex with someone else. And she said that she did it because she was 22, 21, she was young, she didn't know any better, and that she wanted to please Sean Combs.
While he was getting magazine covers and red carpet praise, Cassie says she was trapped in a totally different world. That courtroom felt the chill when she started talking. Imagine this: the man always dressed sharp, saying all the right things, always in control, suddenly exposed by someone who knew the real him. What she described, it didn't match. The Diddy fans thought they knew. It was like hearing about a stranger. When Diddy walked into court for day 2, he looked every bit the billionaire boss, flanked by high-powered lawyers nodding at folks like he owned the room. Fresh suit, smooth stride, even flashing smiles. But the vibe, it changed fast. Witnesses say the moment Cassie started talking, his whole energy collapsed. That famous swagger gone, the calm mogul act falling apart within half an hour. He was cracking visibly. She wasn't even done talking, and his legal team was already jumping up trying to block what she was saying, like they knew it was going to hit hard.
Among other things, the singer is expected to address the 2016 video of Combs attacking her in a hotel when she was his girlfriend. Combs has pleaded not guilty. His attorneys argue the video is evidence of jealousy, not sex trafficking. And now for the first time, jurors are hearing what Cassie has to say about that and other aspects of their 10-year relationship.
At some point in time, she actually had said that she looked forward to the freak-offs. Why did Cassie express looking forward to these said freak-offs?
When the prosecution asked her, was there ever a time that you enjoyed the freak-offs? This is when Cassie got choked up and she said, I did, but only because I got to spend one-on-one time with Combs, and I really did love him.
And that is speaking to the psychological.
Picture it: the same man who once controlled artists' media deals, now twitching in his seat, totally unable to stop what was coming out in court. People there said he couldn't keep still. The power dynamic had flipped hard when Cassie finally sat in that witness chair. All eyes locked on Diddy. His face reportedly turned ghostly, like all the color just vanished. He started messing with his tie, then his cuff links, then just sat there wringing his hands. One reporter said he even began scribbling furiously, passing frantic notes to his lawyers like he was drowning in the moment. The notes were flying so fast, one of Diddy's lawyers had to literally raise a hand just to slow him down.
Abuse that she potentially experienced.
Yeah, she's definitely laying out someone who was young, who was influenced by wanting to have this record career. She signed a 10-album deal with Bad Boy Entertainment led by Sean Combs, and basically describes being enamored by Sean Combs, loving him, not knowing about certain things sexually, and him sort of telling her, teaching her about that. And what you hear is someone that was young and said.
One courtroom reporter said it was like watching someone realize for the first time ever that they've completely lost control of their own story. Another person there said Diddy looked straight up sick as Cassie calmly kept speaking, and she wasn't yelling, she wasn't emotional. She was just telling it straight, which somehow made it all hit even harder.
Didn't know any better, but she's really telling the story of someone who thought she was going to be with someone in this music industry that was going to help her career, that cared about her, but quickly learned after the freak-offs that wasn't the case. And what I thought was also interesting is she said that after that first freak-off, she said she felt dirty. She didn't want to do it. And when she brought up the idea of having a conversation about the freak-offs in an email, which the jurors saw, she said she backpedaled in the email because Combs responded by saying, "I know, you don't want..."
One witness even said they saw Diddy close his eyes multiple times, like he just couldn't handle looking at her or hearing the words coming out of her mouth. And get this, it was only the beginning as the afternoon went on. The courtroom started to understand exactly why Diddy was unraveling what Cassie was about to say. Next, it would hit the music world like a bombshell. This was the kind of allegation that could take down the empire he spent his entire career building for a man used to producing and spinning every story to his favor. This was one narrative he couldn't edit, twist, or control, and it was playing out live.
Oh no, well, it's not that. But that was the beginning. That was in 2010, where she brings up in an email that she wanted to have a conversation about this. And in her words, she didn't want to do it, but she felt like she had to do it.
Diane, prosecutors have wasted no time getting right into the alleged abuse that Cassie Ventura says she endured for years. Ventura telling jurors, quote, "He would bash my head, knock me over, drag me, kick me, stomp me in the head when I was down." She also got into the nature of those so-called freak-offs, saying that they involved hiring an escort and they performed under the direction of Combs, saying that they happened so
When Cassie finally took the stand, the silence in that courtroom was unreal. You could hear people breathe. Everyone knew this moment was coming, but no one, not even Diddy's high-priced legal team, was fully ready for what she was about to drop. After staying silent for years, after holding it all, and Cassie had finally reached the mic.
Eventually became a job for her to set them up. Ventura said she did not feel she had much of a choice but to participate, that she feared that Combs would retaliate or potentially blackmail her if she did not. And she's had at times to take, she's taken deep breaths, pausing her testimony. Combs appearing to be listening pretty passively with his hands in his lap at the defense table there.
Cassie's relationship with Diddy. Some of those details we've seen.
And when she started, she didn't come out swinging. She started small, and that made it hit even harder. She took the court back to the beginning, back to when she met Diddy at just 19 years old. He was already a major industry player, loaded, connected, and powerful. She was a young model hoping to break into music. The power gap was huge from day one, and Cassie says Diddy knew it. According to her, he used that imbalance to his advantage. From the jump, her story, built like a slow burn thriller, first came the little things, the so-called check-ins that didn't feel so innocent, allegedly demanding to know where she was 24/7, then showing up randomly when she was out with friends. Then came the career control. She testified he'd threatened to shove her music if she didn't do what he wanted, claimed he messed up collabs with other artists if he felt even a little threatened.
But to hear her on the stand actually giving those details, reliving those moments herself. Also, you have to remember, she's very pregnant right now. So I'm going to be curious to see how long she makes it on the stand, how she's emotionally able to weather all of these questions. And what's going to be interesting to watch is, you know, the defense from the very start in their opening statement said that she chose to be there. So I'm going to be curious to see how she responds to questions.
Bit by bit, her freedom shrank. Then came the part that made jaws drop. Court transcripts show Cassie testified that Diddy had allegedly installed tracking software on her phone. She said he would call her within minutes of her arriving somewhere, already knowing exactly where she was. She claimed he slowly cut her off from anyone who might help her escape, friends, collaborators, even longtime supporters. According to her, it got to a point where he was the only one left. The courtroom couldn't even hold the tension. The judge had to call for order 3 times during this section alone.
Was this her choice, or did she feel like she had to do all of these things?
I think what made Cassie emotional is having to describe the details of the freak-off and why she did it. When she talked about wanting to do it to please Sean Combs, that's when she broke down. Up until that point, she had just been answering the questions. She's a little soft-spoken at times,
He was reportedly shaking his head, whispering furiously to his lawyers, making faces the jury could clearly see. Every time the judge gave a warning, he'd sit still for maybe 5 minutes, then start all over again. It was like watching a man who's always gotten his way suddenly realize this time he can't shut it down. And then came the moment, the one that flipped the room. Cassie pulled out her phone and handed it to her attorney. Boom, text, messages, and emails hit the big screen for everyone to see. The look on Diddy's face, complete shock. He clearly had no idea she had saved receipts from years ago, messages where he allegedly apologized for violent outbursts, others where he supposedly threatened to end her career if she spoke out. These weren't vague hints, these were direct hits that clashed hard with everything his team had told the public. But those messages, that was just the warm-up. As Cassie kept going, her testimony took an even darker turn.
When she had to answer the question about if she enjoyed it, that's when she broke down, because she said, I enjoyed being with Sean Combs. And she says, I did it because it made him happy.
What did the expressions of the jurors look like?
The jurors are laser focused on what Cassie has to say. And that's to be expected, right? Because she is the person who will likely be on the stand, according to attorneys, for 2, maybe 3 days. She's the one that was in the relationship with Sean Combs for over 10 years. So she's got a lot to say, and she's just getting started.
Just how important is Cassie's testimony to the process?
She started laying out claims of physical abuse that allegedly went on throughout their relationship, and the courtroom froze. You could hear a pin drop when she described being slammed against walls during fights. Then she hit them with a claim that stunned the room. She said Diddy once pushed her down a flight of stairs at a rental house in Miami, and it didn't stop there. Cassie testified that on several occasions Diddy allegedly choked her until she almost blacked out, only stopping when her body went limp.
I think it really connects the dots, Rachel. When you look at that initial indictment and what's being alleged, she really is the person that has probably the most information about this idea that the prosecution says, which is creating a criminal enterprise for Sean Combs' sexual desires. Something else that the jurors saw today that sort of connects it back to this alleged criminal enterprise are 7 photos of people that were very close to Sean Combs, one even his former chief of staff. And these were all
people in the room were visibly shaken. One older woman on the jury had to wipe away tears. A male juror couldn't even look Diddy in the eye. Reporters seasoned, seen at all types, said they weren't ready for how raw and graphic Cassie's words were. And this was just the lead up to the hotel incident that would blow the whole case wide open. I thought I was going to die that night, Cassie said so softly the courtroom had to lean in to catch every word she was talking about, something no one had ever heard before. Not the media, not the blogs, not even the hardcore fans. An incident at the Four Seasons hotel that had stayed completely buried. Cassie said she kept quiet all those years out of fear for her safety, fear for her career, fear no one would believe her over someone with that much power. But now she was done staying quiet.
Cassie Ventura was able to name and explain the functions in terms of what they did: security, driver, chief of staff, someone that handled financials. So it's showing that she knew some of these people, again, because she was with him, around him for so long.
I think what the defense is going to say is that this wasn't blackmail, this was not coercion, this was consensual. We know that Cassie started out with Sean Combs as an early person, with someone who is trying to get her career started, and he was going to help her. That's what the defense is going to say, that she was starting out and wanted someone to support her.
According to Cassie, it all started after what should have been just another industry after party. She says Diddy snapped after seeing her chatting with another music exec. His smile disappeared. She described how he grabbed her arm so hard it left visible marks, and how he whispered threats in her ear, all while keeping that polished smile for the crowd around them. Then came the part that had the courtroom holding its breath. Cassie said Diddy dragged her across the hotel lobby to the elevators. Dragged her. She testified that she was crying, trying to pull away, making such a scene that hotel security actually stepped in. But get this, when the guard recognized Diddy, all he did was ask, "Is everything okay?" And when Diddy said yes, the guard walked away, didn't even check if she was all right. He didn't even ask me if I was okay, Cassie told the court. And then boom, her lawyers dropped the photos. Cassie had taken a series of pictures the next morning: bruises on her arms, a busted lip, red marks on her neck. These weren't polished, posed photos. They were raw, shaky mirror shots taken in a bathroom, and that made them even more real. Cassie explained she took them because she knew one day she might need proof. She was scared no one would believe her unless they saw it with their own eyes.
Something I think the defense is going to focus on, and had it not been for Sean Combs, she wouldn't be where she is right now. The prosecution obviously is saying he was in control. It may have started out as a consensual, it may have started out with her being excited about seeing him, but ultimately he took control of that relationship. He took control of her career. This is their key witness, and she's on that stand trying to explain all of the charges that the prosecution wants to hit home with that jury.
No, there was a moment early on when Cassie mentioned Dallas Austin, who she called a friend who's a producer. So I don't know if that's someone that we're going to hear from. We know that there were pictures shown to prospective jurors that are well-known celebrities, you know, Kanye West, Kid Cudi, Lauren London. We don't know, though, how they fit yet into why they were even asked, do you know these people? Are you familiar with them?
So Diddy's legal team attempted to hide the photos from the jury, claiming they were not properly verified and could have been from any incident. However, the judge overruled all objections, and the images were displayed for the entire courtroom to see the immediate impact. One female juror covered her mouth in shock, while two male jurors turned away. In the back, another juror was seen writing furiously in her notebook, her hand visibly trembling. The hotel incident hit like a nuclear bomb, with no previous mention in court filings or statements. Diddy's team was unaware of the existence of a game plan, and the worry on his lawyer's face was palpable. Cassie revealed another surprising information. Diddy threw a champagne bottle at her head, which smashed into the wall behind her. She testified that he went into a rage, trashed the room, shattered a lamp, flipped a table, and punched a hole through the bathroom door. She also testified that he held her in the hotel room for over 48 hours, took her phone, and threatened her with consequences if she tried to call for help.
Questioning Cassie right now, still questioning her.
The defense hasn't even got a chance to, I mean, that might change based on the timing, but, you know, because she's such a key witness, it's likely that she will be on that stand the rest of the day. We learned that Cassie referred to him as Pop Pop, and Sean Combs would refer to her as CC. The prosecution says, what does CC stand for? They said,
that moment may go down as the image that defines not only this trial, but the history of Shaw Diddy Combs, and no one there will ever forget it. Diddy the mogul, the media king, the guy who built his whole brand on being cool under pressure, snapped right there in front of everyone. The smooth businessman mask he wore for decades crumbled, and what showed underneath it wasn't polished, wasn't calm, it was chaos. This is a man who spent years building a brand where nothing rattled him. Always the boss, always in control, but as Cassie kept going one gut punch after another, his whole vibe changed. Court reporters hooted. That courtroom shrinking into his chair. No longer the confident giant who walked in that morning, his legal team appeared to be running damage control nonstop. Someone sitting right behind them said Diddy's lead attorney kept touching his arm, attempting to keep him calm. At one point, one lawyer slid him a note that reportedly read, "Stay calm," in bold caps. But it didn't help things reached a boiling point when Cassie brought up something that allegedly happened at Diddy's Hampton house. Diddy slammed his hand on the table hard. The sound echoed across the courtroom like a gunshot. The judge immediately halted everything. "Mr. Combs," she warned, "if you can't control yourself, I will have you removed from this courtroom." And for a second it looked. Throughout Cassie's evidence, Diddy couldn't stop reacting, shaking his head and mouthing things that weren't true, but he appeared to forget there was a jury watching his every gesture. One courtroom insider put it this way: it looked like a man who had never been called out before suddenly realizing he had no control over the room. Consider that shift. Years of allegedly controlling every aspect of Cassie's life, and now she had the mic, and he couldn't mute her, call security, or send out a press release. He just had to sit there and take it. But the true breaking point came when Cassie started talking about threats she claimed Diddy had.
She said Cassie Combs.
What kind of witness is Cassie coming off as to the jurors?
I think naturally when you look at her visually, people see that she's pregnant and looking like she's due any day now. So they might, you know, have empathy, sympathy for her in that way, but we don't really know. We know that they've been instructed to be fair and impartial. As to what type of witness she's coming off as, she's describing someone that she was,
And then bang, she dropped another bomb. Cassie's lawyer said they had recordings of real audio. Diddy's voice was heard making the purported threats, and when the video was played, Diddy lost it totally, jumping up out of his chair and pointing directly at Cassie, yelling, "You know that's not how it happened." His lawyers had to physically grab him and pull him back down into his seat. The courtroom was stunned. It wasn't just a meltdown, it was a full public unraveling. It took 3 of Diddy's lawyers to hold him back as he kept trying to yell over the audio playing in court. The judge had no choice but to call for a recess on the spot, but the damage was already done. Everybody saw it: the jury, the press, the court staff. Every single person witnessed the meltdown. The man known being untouchable just showed the world how touchable he really was. As they escorted Diddy out of that courtroom, he didn't look anything like the polished mogul who strutted in that morning. That cool, confident mask gone, and what was underneath wasn't the powerhouse everyone thought he was. It was someone completely unglued. But just when everyone thought the shocks were over, Cassie dropped another bomb. This one hit harder than anything before. She had evidence, and not just Cassie had been gathering receipts, meticulously, quietly hiding everything away: emails, texts, images, everything backed up in numerous places Diddy couldn't reach. Then she presented something that stopped the entire courtroom. She had communications from celebrities, huge names who apparently saw Diddy's behavior firsthand, and we're not talking about casual bystanders. Her were people from Diddy's inner circle, pals, long-standing partners, people who'd partied with him, toured with him, built empires with him, and experienced things the public never did. When Cassie mentioned her sources, Diddy's face reportedly turned ghost white, and someone in the gallery described him as looking like he was about to throw up. His lawyers were up immediately, objecting loudly and demanding a sidebar with the judge. They said the celebrity texts were hearsay, claimed they weren't submitted properly, and tried every trick in the book to block them, but the judge wasn't buying it. After reviewing the messages privately, she came back and shut them down, overruling every objection. She called
who she was at that time and who she was allowed to be. Now you're looking at somebody that's almost 40 years old, totally different person, but even in describing what was going on at her at that time, taking drugs, trying to please Sean Combs, she's really just sort of laying out the case for her not having a lot of control.
A lot of control. It hit Diddy like a punch. He put his head into his hands, knowing what was coming. One by one, those celebrity messages hit the courtroom screens. A major rapper texted Cassie after a Grammy afterparty: "You okay? What I saw tonight, was it right? You can stay at my place if you need to." A female pop star messaged, "I've known him 15 years, and I've never seen him act like that with anyone else. This isn't normal, please call me." But the most damning, a longtime producer who has worked closely with Diddy for decades, gave Cassie a terrifying letter after something he witnessed in the studio. "I can't be around this anymore. I encouraged him to get assistance, and call me when you're safe." These texts destroyed the public image. Diddy had tried to protect his narrative that no one ever saw anything, that it was all just drama and exaggeration. Fell apart. These weren't just bystanders, these were people who knew him, and they were concerned. And then it got even worse because his own messages came next. Screenshots show Diddy texting Cassie things like, "I'm sorry about last night, you know how. When I drink, it won't happen again." A different tweet read, "Whatever you need to make this right, just name it: new car, new apartment, whatever you want." And then came the ones that sounded like hush money. "My lawyer will draw up the paperwork tomorrow. $2 million clean break. You don't discuss anything from the last 5 years."
I think that's the takeaway. This is someone who is making it very clear that at that particular time in her life, she says she did not have any control really over what she wore, what she did, who she was having sex with. She's a different person now. But I think when she talks about those details and even reflecting on them for herself, as we saw today, she broke down.
As those messages were read out loud in court, the silence was deafening. Everyone was locked in, no one was moving, and he looked like a man watching everything he built crash down around him. Something wild happened in the gallery. People who came in with Diddy that morning, his entourage, the ones sitting behind him, showing full support, started dipping out quietly one by one. They didn't say a word, didn't make a scene, they just slid out, unable to sit through another minute. Cassie finished that part of her testimony. Diddy was nearly alone at his table, just him and his legal team. No backup, no show of strength. That wall of support he flexed earlier in the day gone. Everything had changed. The surprise evidence, the texts, photos, and recordings. It flipped the whole courtroom upside down. The man who walked in like royalty, like hip-hop's untouchable king, left that courthouse looking wrecked. Even the tight circle of security around him couldn't brought forward the calm and cool delivery. The people who reached out trying to help her, it painted a picture that's not going away anytime soon. At this point, the question isn't will Diddy win the case, but can his reputation survive what the world just heard? If this shook you like it shook us, hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more explosive updates. Drop a comment below and let us know what you believe is the end of Diddy's empire, and of course share this with someone who needs to hear the whole tale. We'll catch you on the next one.